Episode 24. The blade in the dark hours had passed since Xavier's boots echoed out of the iron cell beneath Crimson Hold, but he'd returned, his gaunt frame looming like a specter in the damp gloom. Caleb Rook Tanner hung shackled, bloodied but unbowed, his hazel eyes locked on the Covenant's assassin. Xavier's gray duster drank the cell's dim light, eyes glinting with cold intent, his burned hands empty of the neural prod, but heavy with menace. He leaned close, voice a rasping hymn, each word a spike meant to shatter Rook's spirit. "Defy us, Tanner, and you'll beg for death's mercy. We'll extract your consciousness, rip it from your flesh, and bind it to a simulated hell. A world of fire and claws, where demonic beasts tear you apart, skin flayed, bones crushed, only to reform, whole again, for the torment to restart. Eternity, Tanner, forever in agony, no escape, no end. Speak, or that's your fate, worse than any grave." Rook spat blood, his grin weak but defiant, hazel eyes blazing. "Nice story, Zealot. I've heard scarier from slum rats high on stims. Kane's worth more than your nightmares." Xavier stared, his scar twitching, then turned, his duster vanishing into the dark, leaving the cell's silence heavier than chains. Rook hung in his shackles, wrists raw, body aching from days of torment. His shaved head gleamed with sweat, tattoos, circuitry, and ravens from heists with Kane Voss, itching under the grime, a reminder of the brother he'd die for. The Sanctum of the Veil, buried beneath Iron Dominion's crimson hold, was a fortress of zealots, its null field generators baffling Forge's drones. Escape seemed impossible, but Rook was a lockpick savant, a slum rat who'd slipped traps that killed lesser men. His resolve burned, a fire no fear could douse. The cell door creaked, a faint sound that snapped Rook's focus. Not Xavier's deliberate stride, but a softer step. A young servant girl slipped inside, no older than 16, her gray robe patched, her dark hair tucked under a hood. She carried a tray, bread, water, a slab of synth protein, her brown eyes darting nervously. She set the tray down, then stepped close, her breath quick, voice a whisper barely audible over the distant chants of initiates. "I hate this," she hissed, glancing at the door. "What they're doing to you, it's evil. The Covenant. They burned my mother alive. Called her a techno-witch for fixing drones. I heard them, the priests, laughing as she screamed." Rook's eyes narrowed, wary, but catching her tremble. Grief, not deceit. "Kid, you're playing with fire. Why risk it?" She leaned closer, her fingers brushing his shackles, voice urgent. "They may be watching. Act fast." From her robe, she produced a small key, its metal glinting, and a compact blade, its edge honed to a whisper. She unlocked his shackles, the chains clattering softly as they fell, and pressed the blade into his hand. "I overheard them. Virel's Xavier. They're sending assassins to kill Kane Voss. He's in Nova Reach. You're his friend, aren't you? Go. Warn him." Rook's heart kicked, the blade's weight grounding him. Nova Reach, he muttered, mind racing. Kane, his brother in all but blood, was a target, and the Covenant's reach was long. He gripped the girl's shoulder, voice low. "You're brave, kid. Get out. Stay low. Don't let them see you." She nodded, eyes fierce despite her fear, and slipped out, the door clicking shut. Rook flexed his wrists, pain flaring but ignored. The blade was light, balanced, a slum-forged shank perfect for silent work. His body was battered, but his mind was sharp, years of heists with Kane honing his stealth to a razor's edge. The Sanctum was a maze, crypts, armories, chanting zealots, but he'd faced worse odds in Freeland's slums. For Kane, for the girl's mother, for his own damn pride, he'd carve a way out. He eased the door open, peering into a stone corridor lit by flickering hollow torches. The air was thick with incense, masking the Sanctum's metallic tang. Distant chants droned, a rhythm he used to time his steps. He moved like a ghost, bare feet silent on the cold floor, blade tucked close. A guard stood at the corridor's end, a robed initiate with a rail pistol holstered, his back to Rook. Rook's pulse steadied, his slum instincts kicking in. He crept closer, then lunged, arm hooking the guard's throat, blade pricking his spine. "One sound, you're dead," Rook whispered. The guard froze, and Rook knocked him out with a sharp elbow to the temple, dragging him into an alcove. He stripped the robe, pulling it over his own battered frame, the hood hiding his face. The Sanctum's deeper levels buzzed with danger. Rook slipped through a crypt, its marble walls etched with prayers, past initiates kneeling at altars. A hollow screen flickered, showing Kane's face, a grainy feed from Beacon Verge. Rook's jaw tightened. Time was bleeding out. He ducked into a stairwell, ascending toward the surface, but boots thudded above. 2 guards, their voices sharp, checking posts. No way around. Rook pressed against the wall, blade ready, heart a steady drum. As they passed, he struck. Blade, slashing one's throat, a silent spray of blood, while his free hand drove the second's head into the stone. A dull crack echoing. Both crumpled, and Rook dragged them into a niche, breath burning, but controlled. No alarms yet, but the clock was ticking. The upper levels were a gauntlet. A steel corridor led to an armory, its door guarded by a biometric lock. Rook's lockpick skills were legend, but this needed finesse. He pried a panel, exposing wires, and used the blade's tip to spark a short, the lock hissing open. Inside, he grabbed a rail pistol, its weight familiar, and a smoke grenade, a slum runner's best friend. Shouts echoed. His handiwork had been found. He bolted, smoke grenade hissing behind him, filling the corridor with choking gray. Guards coughed, firing blindly, their plasma bolts scorching the walls. Rook dove low, sprinting toward a service lift he'd spotted, its panel cracked from disuse. He pried it open, slipping inside as the doors hissed shut, the lift groaning upward toward Crimson Hold's undercity. The lift shuddered, depositing him in a maintenance bay, a warren of pipes and crates beneath the Colosseums, the city's pulse throbbing close. Alarms screamed now, red lights pulsing. Rook darted through the bay, dodging crates, his muscles screaming but driven by iron will. A drone whirred overhead, its red optics scanning. He froze behind a stack of barrels, breath held, until it passed. The bay opened to a loading dock, its bay doors half open, revealing Crimson Hold's neon-lit slums. He sprinted, but the Sanctum's reach was tighter than Forge's. A patrol of 3 Covenant enforcers appeared, their robes marked with thorn sigils, rail rifles raised. Rook's cover was blown. He dove behind a crate, plasma bolts sizzling past, one grazing his robe. "Come on, you zealot bastards," he growled, intensity flaring. He fired the rail pistol, a slug, punching through one enforcer's chest, then lobbed the smoke grenade. As it burst, he sprinted, blade in one hand, pistol in the other, weaving through the haze. An enforcer lunged, swinging a shock baton. Rook parried with the blade, metal sparking, and drove his knee into the man's gut, finishing with a pistol butt to the skull. The third fired, a bolt clipping Rook's hood, but he rolled, closing the gap, and slashed the enforcer's thigh, dropping him screaming. No time for mercy. He ran, the dock's edge shaking under his boots. The loading dock led to Crimson Hold's outer slums, a chaotic sprawl of shanties and neon. Guards swarmed the streets, drones buzzing like hornets. Rook slipped into an alley, heart pounding, scanning for an out. He spotted a cargo platform, its maglev tracks leading to the city's edge. He climbed onto a crate, leaping onto the platform as it whirred to life, flattening himself against its cargo. Stacks of synth steel bound for a trade post. The platform glided through the slums, guard scanners missing his heat signature amid the metal. It passed Crimson Hold's gates into the open plains of Iron Dominion, bound for a border near Nova Reach. Rook exhaled, blade still clutched, body uninjured but screaming for rest. The platform's rumble was his lifeline, carrying him toward Kane, toward warning his brother of the Covenant's blades. The stars above Iron Dominion burned cold, but Rook's fire burned hotter, Resilient, unbreakable, a scavenger who'd clawed out of hell to fight another day. In the chamber of the thorned light, Cyrus Virel stood before the crimson-draped altar, his skeletal frame cloaked in bone-white robes, his crown of thorns and circuitry glinting in the prismatic light. Xavier stood at his side, his burned hands clasped, his frosted eyes fixed on a hollow screen flickering to life. Alarms wailed through the sanctum, a shrill pulse signaling Rook's escape. The screen showed drone footage, grainy but clear. Rook, robed and hooded, sprinting through the loading dock, smoke swirling, then vanishing onto the cargo platform, burrowing into its steel. Xavier's scar twitched, his voice a low rasp. "He's slipping us, Cyrus. I'll hunt him now." He turned, duster flaring, but Cyrus's gnarled hand rose, sharp and commanding. "Wait," Cyrus said, his voice soft, refined, a velvet blade. "Come back, Xavier. Let Tanner go." His glowing eyes, pale and unnatural, locked on the screen, a faint smile curling his lips, serene, yet venomous. Xavier froze, incredulity cracking his stoic mask, his frosted eyes searching Cyrus's face. "Let him go. He knows Voss's trail, the core's path. Why?" Cyrus's smile widened, a serpent's charm, his gaze never leaving the hollow screen as Rook's platform faded into the plains. "Patience, my blade. The divine weaves its own net." The chamber's prisms cast fractured silhouettes, and Xavier stood, his disbelief a silent storm, as the chapter closed on Cyrus's cryptic will.